In a small, peaceful corner of the world, there was a quiet farm where the breeze whispered through the trees and the animals lived in harmony. Among the many residents of this farm, there were two animals whose bond defied all expectations. One was a disabled duckling named Daisy, and the other was a wise old cat named Whiskers. Their story was one of courage, compassion, and the kind of friendship that changes everything. Daisy was unlike the other ducklings. She had been born with a limp that made it hard for her to keep up with her siblings. While the other ducklings would race through the grass, their tiny wings flapping with excitement, Daisy struggled to take each step, her small leg barely able to keep up with the others. She had always admired the freedom and grace of her siblings, watching them soar through the air and waddle effortlessly across the fields, but she knew that her own body was holding her back. Despite the challenge, Daisy had a heart full of determination. She refused to give up. Every day she would try again, each step a reminder that she was different, but she was still capable of finding joy. Her little world was one of resilience and quiet hope. It was during one of these solitary moments, when Daisy was sitting near the pond watching her family in the distance, that she first encountered Whiskers. The old cat had always been a bit of a mystery to the other animals on the farm. She had lived many years, seen many things, and as a result had grown somewhat distant from the younger animals. Whiskers had been there long before Daisy arrived, observing the world with calm eyes and a quiet wisdom. On that particular afternoon, as Daisy sat near the edge of the pond, trying to gather the courage to join her siblings in the water, Whiskers appeared. The cat wasn't in a hurry, nor was she looking for anything. She simply sat down beside Daisy, her tail flicking lazily in the warm breeze. For a long time neither of them said anything. Daisy felt a bit uneasy at first. She wasn't used to the company of such a large regal creature. But there was something comforting about Whiskers' presence, something that made Daisy feel safe. Days passed and Whiskers returned to sit with Daisy regularly. Over time the duckling began to trust the cat, and they developed a unique bond. Whiskers, in her quiet way, offered Daisy companionship without judgment. While Daisy struggled to move as quickly as the other ducklings, Whiskers would gently nudge her with her paw, guiding her back to the others or simply offering her comfort in silence. As the summer days stretched on, their friendship grew stronger. Daisy began to find her own rhythm, moving more confidently, even if it was at a slower pace than the others. She started to believe that perhaps she wasn't as limited as she had once thought. In Whiskers, Daisy had found a friend who accepted her as she was. But their bond wasn't just one of companionship, it was one of mutual care. One afternoon, a new challenge arose that would test the depth of their friendship. A storm had been brewing all day. The sky darkened with heavy clouds and a strong wind began to blow through the trees. Daisy had never liked storms. The loud crashes of thunder, the howling winds, and the sudden bursts of rain frightened her. She would often hide under the bushes or take shelter by the barn. On this day the storm came quicker than Daisy had anticipated. As the wind picked up, she found herself trapped in the open field, far from the safety of the barn. The other ducklings had already taken cover, but Daisy, with her limp, struggled to move fast enough to reach safety. Her heart raced with panic as the storm grew fiercer, the rain pouring down in sheets. Just as Daisy was about to give in to the overwhelming fear, she saw Whiskers. The old cat had been on her usual walk, but the storm had caught her by surprise as well. Without hesitation, Whiskers dashed toward Daisy, her fur soaked by the rain. With a quick nudge of her nose, Whiskers guided Daisy toward the barn, where they could both find shelter from the storm. Daisy stumbled and faltered as she tried to keep up with Whiskers. The rain was cold and the wind was strong, but Whiskers didn't stop. She didn't leave Daisy behind. She stayed by her side, nudging her forward, guiding her every step of the way. Together they made it to the barn, where they huddled together in the dry, warm corner, watching the storm rage outside. In that moment, Daisy realized just how much Whiskers cared for her. It wasn't just about offering companionship, it was about protecting her, about making sure she was safe, even when the world around them seemed too dangerous. Daisy felt a deep sense of gratitude. She may have been slower, smaller, and different from the others, but Whiskers had never looked down on her. She had never made Daisy feel inadequate. As the storm passed and the world outside grew calm once again, Daisy and Whiskers stayed in their corner of the barn, content in each other's company. Daisy had never felt so loved, so cared for. She knew that, despite her disability, she wasn't alone in this world. Whiskers had shown her that no matter the storm, true friendship could weather anything. In the weeks that followed, Daisy found herself growing stronger. With Whiskers by her side, she began to venture out into the world with more confidence. While she still couldn't keep up with the other ducklings, she didn't feel quite as alone anymore. Whiskers was always there, walking beside her, offering gentle encouragement. But as Daisy grew more confident, Whiskers started to show signs of age. Her once spry steps became slower, and her eyes, though wise, had lost some of their sparkle. Daisy noticed it first, a slight hesitation in Whiskers' movements, a pause when she used to leap so effortlessly. Whiskers wasn't as young as she used to be, and Daisy knew that it wouldn't be long before the cat could no longer walk as she once did. One morning, after a long night of storms, Whiskers struggled to get out of the barn. Her body was stiff, and her movements were slow and deliberate. Daisy, now more confident and strong, noticed the change immediately. She waddled up to Whiskers, gently nudging her with her head, urging her to rest. Whiskers, though proud and independent, accepted the help without protest. From that day on, Daisy took it upon herself to care for Whiskers. She helped her navigate the fields, ensuring that the older cat didn't trip over the rocks or uneven ground. When the weather turned cold, Daisy would lead Whiskers to the warmest corner of the barn, where they would curl up together, keeping each other company through the long nights. As the seasons changed and Whiskers' health began to decline, Daisy's love and care for her grew deeper. She had learned so much from the cat, how to be strong even when things seemed hard, how to offer love without needing anything in return. Now it was her turn to give back. And so, in the final months of Whiskers' life, the roles reversed. The disabled duckling, once in need of help, became the protector. Whiskers had taught Daisy the true meaning of friendship. It wasn't about being the strongest or the fastest, but about being there for each other no matter what. When Whiskers finally passed, in the quiet of the barn where they had spent so many peaceful moments together, Daisy mourned her dear friend. But she knew that their bond would never be forgotten. Whiskers had given her so much more than companionship. She had given Daisy the strength to face the world with love and resilience. And though Whiskers was no longer by her side, Daisy carried her wisdom with her every day. Daisy never forgot the lesson Whiskers had taught her. True friendship is about standing by each other through thick and thin. It doesn't matter how different we are or what challenges we face. Love has the power to make us stronger, to help us overcome even the hardest storms. And so, on that little farm, as the seasons passed and the world continued to turn, Daisy lived on, a testament to the unforgettable bond she had shared with her dear friend, Whiskers. A bond that, though tested by time and adversity, would remain unbroken forever.